Okay, ladies, this is Charlie, and we're going to do a review here of the GSS Resources Call list. This is how it was originally set up, and I had alphabetized this list according to column A. So this was the businesses listed in alphabetical order. And then Emily pointed out an interesting thing we have seen before. If you come down here, row 59, here's the Jackman Funeral Home. And there's a Gerald Jackman who is the funeral director, right? And the phone number there ends in 2200. But down here at row 101, there's Gerald Jackman. And again, the same 2200 phone number. So Emily said, can we throw these together so that with the one phone number, we could call that one phone number and deal with the funeral director and cover two different funeral homes with the one person. So what I did was I copied this list, and then instead of in column A sorting everything by business, I went over here to the phone and I sorted everything in ascending order. And it just so happened that this 2200 phone number for Gerald Jackman was the lowest number, okay, if you think about it. So this worked out nicely because now whoever is going to be calling the Jackman Funeral Home and sees Gerald Jackman, they'll also see that Gerald Jackman is responsible for the Tankrell Jackman Funeral Home. Same phone number. So what I did is I used conditional formatting in this column. And anytime that you see a number in green, it means because it's sorted by numerical order that the phone number above it is going to be the same. So here, 4717 is the same as the number before. And if we come down here, 4111 is the same number as this number right up here. That works out nicely. But then another problem became apparent. And what happens, though, if Gerald Jackman is working at two different funeral homes, but they have two different phone numbers? So instead of calling Gerald Jackman twice, and on the second time, because it could be a different person calling him, we want to be efficient, and we don't want Gerald to go, do you people know what you're doing? So I created a conditional formatting for these three columns. And in any case where the first and last name match with another row, I excluded the middle initial, and here's a good reason why. Here, Gerald E. Jackman and Gerald blank Jackman, these are the same person. So anytime that we have a match, anything that occurs for at least the second time, it'll turn blue for all three columns, all right, on this row. Now down here, we have David Pickering and Andrew Pickering. Well, it just so happens that their David and Andrew are right above here, okay? And then you look here, there's Tom Caruso. Because this is in blue, we know that there is an original above it. So here's Tom Caruso right here, okay? It might get a little awkward if we're down here someplace, and for example, here's Bob Irving. Now, the thing is that if I'm working on my rows and somebody else is working on a different row, we don't want both people calling Bob Irving at the same time. Bob's gonna look at the phone and go, what are you people doing? So because Bob Irving is in blue with the conditional formatting, you could, scroll up, that could be awkward, and find Bob Irving and then see if somebody had already called him. There's an easier way to do that. And all you need to do is if you want to find either a phone number, pretty easy here, they're in order, or a name. So I'm just going to click here and I'm going to call up the find function. So for the Mac, it's Command F. For a PC, it would be Control F. And if I go find in sheet and I type in Irving, it's going to find every instance of Irving that appears here, okay? So right here, it says this is the second of three. So I'm going to do this. I can either scroll up or down. So if I click on this, it'll take me to the next instance of Irving. And if I keep going, it'll bring me now to the first instance of Irving. So I've got Bob Irving in this row, and I've got Bob Irving in this row, and I've got Bob Irving in this row. That is helpful. A liability is that if this was the Bob Irving Funeral Home, then we would see an instance over here. And if there was an email address that was B. Irving at the Schmendrake Funeral Home, it would show up here. But this is an easy way just to quickly scan through a large document and find a specific instance of something you're looking for. So I would suggest this. Let me just close this up so we don't have that awkward coloring there. You do notice that I froze this first row and the first column. So no matter how far down you go, you can still see the titles. And no matter how far you go over to the right, you can still see the name of the funeral home, okay? Now let's go back here. So I would suggest that, let's say, for example, I tackle the Jackman Funeral Home, and I also have the Tankrell Jackman Funeral Service. So in this column, we can just contact. In this column, if I make a note of either answering service or left a message with the staff or talked with the FD, that would be really helpful, because if, say, for example, we had Gerald Jackman was way down here, if his name was in blue, then I would want to know if somebody had contacted him already. So if I did that search function and I found Jackman way up here, right, and then over here it said, talk to Gerald, or whatever it said, then I would know not to call him. And I think that would be really efficient, and a really efficient way of doing these things. So let's make some sort of short contact information here. Yes, we talked to him or them. We left a message with the answering service, or we left a message with the staff. I just think that leaving a message with the answering service is the least efficient. Right? Now, who is going to do what? I was going to simply color code these by who's going to do what. But if I come over here, there are 216 rows in this database. All right? The thing is that if we look at the assignments, there are only 149 unique entries. So for example, if we come over here, the Bumma Funeral Home is listed twice. And here, the Pickering and Sons listed twice. There are a couple of places. For example, let's look at Pickering. Pickering's listed twice here because it has David A. Pickering and Andrew Pickering both listed as funeral directors. So if you called and asked to speak to David, and they said, well, David's not here right now, or David doesn't work here anymore, or whatever, then you could say, well, okay, thank you. Can I speak to Andrew, please? That would be helpful. So I broke it down like this. If Jane can tackle all of the contacts in rows 2 through 73, that I'm going to assume is going to contain several duplicates. She's only going to call each agency one time. So Jane, if you handle rows 2 through 73, and Kim, you can handle rows 74 through 144, and I'll do 145 to 217. That should give us roughly about the same number of contacts that we have to make. Again, we're going to leave some sort of note for our cohorts here on the contact column. Feel free, if you want to, in this P column, and make additional comments about what went on if you feel the need. I think this will be helpful because we won't be calling people twice if this thing works out the way it's supposed to. If you have any questions at all, you can give me a call or email me. Let's just see how this goes.